Soldiers are easily some of the bravest people on the planet. They're sent to places that many of us will never visit, and see man-made horrors play out in front of their eyes. Although soldiers have hundreds of stories to tell, some of the most interesting ones are those that detail mysterious creatures. One interesting account is that of military soldiers that encountered a mysterious being. The story goes that back in 2002, a military unit encountered a giant being in Kandahar. American soldiers were trekking up a mountainside when they saw signs of a large being. These included things like large footprints. As the soldiers went to investigate the area, they said they could hear loud grunting noises. Shortly after this, the team said they were ambushed by a large humanoid. They reported it was around 13 feet tall and had red hair. It had 6 fingers on each hand and was hostile towards the military unit. One of the men unfortunately didn't make it as he was pierced by the giant's large spear. The giant was said to be dressed in animal skins. The reason the team was in the area was because another military unit had gone missing, and so a rescue mission was planned to see what happened and hopefully bring back any survivors. After the soldier got pierced with the spear, it then turned its attention to the rest of the group. The others quickly fired at the giant, hitting it all over its body. They continued to do this until the giant dropped to its knees. After this, the unit reported it to their superiors. They gave them clear instructions to hide the body and stay near it, ensuring that no one nearby saw what they were trying to hide. After this, the body was taken to a secure location, and high-up officials told the soldiers that they were never to speak of this again. Another strange encounter is that of the jinn. According to the ancient scriptures seen throughout the Middle East, the jinn are often referred to as the people of the fire, and seem to be as old as the universe itself. Scholars have noted that the word jinn most likely comes from the Arabic root word jan, to which roughly translates to mean to hide or to conceal, which gives us a clue as to the nature of the jinn, of which were often regarded as creatures of whom would attempt to conceal themselves from man. The Quran then clarifies that the existence of the jinn first came about during the act of the creation of the universe, and that the jinn came into existence after being created from a smokeless fire, similar to that of electricity and much purer energy. These stories in fact match that of the Judaism interpretation of the creation of Lucifer, of whom was also crafted from fire, and not that of light similar to other angels. The jinn were then described as being more accurately referred to as the people of the fire, and that they would exist in a plane that rested slightly above us but still within our world, slightly out of the reach of any natural senses. Additional information as to the origin and spreading of the jinn gets a little hazy, but references are made of the jinn assisting ruthless kings and rulers, and even helping with the building and construction of many cities and places of immense power. Given the fact that the jinn are often described as being unable to be seen or sensed by our natural senses, and constantly attempting to evade detection of all kind, it's no surprise then that the main focus of the power of the jinn circles around its ability to take any form. It's believed that the jinn have the ability to take the form of any animal or person, and that they often use these tactics to get away from someone pursuing them, or to trick loved ones of an individual into doing something for them. The only way for someone to be certain of whether or not the creature is a jinn is to look into its eyes. According to legends, the jinn's eyes are constantly blazing like a fire, and that they can be seen in the eyes of any form that they take. Jinns also possess supernatural abilities, such as that of possessing an individual to take control of their body, being able to predict the future and being able to perform superhuman feats that are otherwise unexplainable in the physical world, such as speed, flying, vast intelligence, fluency in any language, and a vast amount of unending skills. Definitely seen as one of the strangest reports of modern-day encounters with the jinn was a military encounter seen in Iraq back in June of 2003. An Iraqi soldier and other fighters were stationed at the second floor of a police station to assist with further attacks against the police. This was between the locals and the law enforcement of the city. A lot of people were confused by the sudden attacks by the police, and so one of the main purposes of the Iraqi army assisting with safety was to uncover the reasons as to why such disturbances were taking place. In one of the reports taken by an Iraqi military squad stationed for 24/7 surveillance, they claimed they encountered several jinn, of whom were watching and patrolling the station. The report details that they believed the individuals to be jinn due to the fact they had glowing red eyes, and seemed completely unfazed by the bright surveillance lights used to blind passbyers, of whom attempted to get close to the station at night. Shortly after the report was filed, the whole entire station was attacked and every soldier and police in the department passed away from injuries. It then circulated that the jinn were at the centre of the attacks, and the majority of the disturbances were caused by the jinn waging plans of attack. After the report surfaced, the attack stopped, with many locals claiming that the jinn went back into hiding after they were discovered. The military and Bigfoot. The military and Bigfoot seem to have a strange relationship. One of the last places you'd expect to see a Bigfoot would be near a military base, yet various stories have been told of these ancient creatures getting into these secret locations. And not only that, but shortly after seeing this creature there appears to be various reports of UFO sightings throughout the area. Oddly enough, according to MUFON or the Mutual UFO Network, it appeared that the third most common sighting of an alien being was that of a Bigfoot. Many people with whom encountered strange UFO sightings wrote witness reports of saucers landing and a Bigfoot coming out, or encountering a Bigfoot in the forest only for it to disappear like a ghost, and moments later to see a nearby unidentified flying object begin to immediately take off into the sky. These cases also do not include single encounters with the Sasquatch, and only include reports regarding a definitive extraterrestrial account. It's for this reason that Bigfoot might be an extraterrestrial creature, instead of a naturally evolved one. American soldiers have gone on to detail seeing these creatures around bases and while on missions. One of the most famous creatures that resembled a Bigfoot was given the name of rock ape. Referred to by American soldiers as rock apes, consistent reports were made by a wide number of platoons of giant humanoid creatures. One veteran wrote the following report. Serving with the 101st Airborne in the mountains of Vietnam, I saw the rock apes on many occasions. They were as large as a big man and usually were in small groups of 2 or 3 unlike Bigfoot, but were bigger than most men and smaller than Bigfoot. They were spotted on days, but would also set off our trip flares at night." End quote. The infamous Roswell event happened back in July 1947. The story details that a large craft made contact with the ground near Roswell, New Mexico. W. McBrazel, a rancher near Roswell, New Mexico, found wreckage in 1947. Because there had been so many other flying saucer sightings that same year, Brazel believed this wreckage had to be something similar. Major Jesse Marcel was sent to investigate the site and recover the wreckage. He announced in a press release that they'd recovered a flying disc, but the next day they said it was only a weather balloon. However, later on the Air Force claimed that neither stories were true, and that it was actually a device used to spy on the Soviet Union. Strangely, after going back on their statements, people quickly forgot about the incident, even though a matter of days prior their government admitted they had discovered the wreck of a flying disc. However, when more information was released about the wreckage, and when those who were at the site started to talk about some of the things they had seen, new interest started developing. UFO researchers said that Roswell is one of the most important events in regards to ufology, and they are surprised that people haven't pushed this more and demanded about what came down that day. Amateur researchers have said that these military officials are not stupid, and that they know the difference between a UFO and a weather balloon. It's reported that when the initial news broke that it was a UFO that was discovered, people started to panic, and this was the main reason why the military went back on their words. For the last few decades though, those who worked at the location of the crash and who were told inside information came forward with their stories. Matilda O'Donnell McElroy was a senior master sergeant in the Women's Air Force. Documents show that she had an incredible encounter with a humanoid. She claims this individual went by the name of Errol, and they told her where they'd come from and why they were visiting planet Earth. At the time of this encounter, Matilda was only 23 years old. She claims she was able to communicate with the humanoid through telepathy. This Errol, who Matilda was in contact with and who she was interviewed by, said there was notable differences between her and this being. Firstly, she stated that Errol was not a biological entity like herself, but said that she did have a female appearance and that she was the size of a child. During the crash there was 3 of them on board and she was the only survivor. Interestingly, Matilda's report matches what many abductees have said. She claims that the being's body wasn't like a human's, but rather seemed to be made of some type of synthetic material. Those who have looked into UFO abductions have said these alleged aliens do come across as robotic, and it's caused some to say they're similar to working robots. Some abductees have said that while observing these beings, they were very robot-like, not blinking, moving in bizarre ways and not showing any type of emotion. When Matilda was later interviewed for a book, she theorized that the craft was made out of the same material as the alien, and that both of them could be controlled by the mind. She did say, however, that Ariel didn't release much information to her, and that she was reserved about certain topics. Matilda even went as far as saying that it came across that Ariel didn't trust the military officials. The nurse then took this as a warning, and thought that if aliens didn't trust humans, it doesn't reflect well on us as a species. When questioned about where they came from, Errol claims that her civilization is an ancient one that's very powerful, and that their end goal is to progress. McElroy penned a letter which reads as follows: "Mankind needs to know the answers to questions which are contained in these documents. Who are we? Where do we come from? What is our purpose on Earth? If there is intelligent life elsewhere in the universe, why have they not made contact? It's vital that people understand the devastating consequences to our physical and spiritual survival if we fail to take effective action to undo the long-standing and pervasive effects of alien intervention on Earth." End quote. Interestingly, this story links up with an account which came from a mortician named Glenn Dennis. According to Dennis, who was a nurse at the Roswell Army Airfield, she said she witnessed doctors examining creatures that resembled humans, but had long thin arms and very large bald heads. Dennis reported that there were requests for child-sized caskets around the same time. The TV show UFO Hunters interviewed Elle Fulford, who was at the site and helped clean up the crash, and also at the time one of the last surviving people who was actually at the crash site. Elle said the material they picked up was lightweight, and when they screwed it up it was able to return to its original form. The UFO Hunters team laid out several materials, some of which included everyday foil and also mylar foil. However, when Elle picked this up, he said it didn't match what he picked up at the crash site, and went on to note it was too heavy. He said the material he picked up at the site was pretty much weightless, and that no matter how much you tried to tear it up or scrunch it up, it would always return to its original shape, saying that he'd never felt a material like it before. The team, without Elle's knowledge, managed to recreate a material based on what he described, and when he picked it up he described it as being a close match. He said the following when he picked up the material: "This one feels more like the material. We could squeeze it and it would pop back. The thickness and weight is similar. It makes chills run down my back." End quote. As of today, many believe there's many things we aren't being told about the Roswell incident. So what do you think happened at Roswell, and what do you make of Matilda's statements? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comment section below, and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.